The Sharp Tank, No Jumper, sharpest, coolest podcast in the world. And today, I have a gentleman, a scholar, an overall good guy in here. I got Mr. Rory. Mr. Rory, welcome.
Well, thank you, man. Thanks for having me, brother.
I want to just shake your hand.
I can't wait.
Just shake your hand.
Sir.
Like,
Yes, sir.
Now, you say that you a financial educator. That sounds like something that, something I like having money and knowing what to do with it, pretty much. Is that what that entails too?
Exactly. A financial educator, man, is somebody that help people pursue their purpose in areas of financial education. Mm-hmm. Right now, before the pandemic, the average American was 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless. And 1 out of 3 Americans in debt, and the average American family cannot even handle a $400 emergency. So financial literacy is really, really needed, and that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, I like that. Do you think that? What do you think that they don't offer in financial ed? Like, why do you think they don't offer financial education in public schools? Why do you think that is?
Well, I would say this here: we go to school for about 14 years, and we don't learn really about real estate. We don't learn anything about finance.
Yeah.
I think that we say education, and education is the key to everything.
Yeah.
But when you really look at it, today a school teacher can barely make a living, but entertainers and other people make millions.
You think that's why teachers be walking out like, fuck this shit, I'm done with this shit?
They get frustrated, and,
Yeah.
and I feel that. I think that teachers should be overpaid, not underpaid.
Yeah. See, when I went to school, I used to watch teachers, man, they didn't really care about the kids like that, man, at all. Like, they just, for a paycheck, you even say something snarl, just go to the office. They don't even want to deal with you.
Yeah.
Instead of probably sitting there taking the time to, help the child adapt.
Exactly.
To, what I'm saying, in situations.
Right. And I'm actually a product of that. When I was in school, I got kicked out of every elementary school, every junior high school, and every high school. I was labeled a troubled youth. And I got kicked out of all of those schools, not because I was really a bad student, but I had suffered from something that was called dyslexia. I read things backwards, right?
Yeah.
So I can listen to the teacher and pretty much articulate everything the teacher said, but when it came down to open book or test, I would create a distraction, do something to get thrown out the class. That's why I got kicked out of so many classes.
Do you think that the teachers were more into, and I don't like to talk about race, but I feel like, especially back in the day, you got to bring that up. Do you think that the teachers were more willing to help a Caucasian student or a foreign exchange student quicker than they would help a Black African American male or female?
Well, I would say this here, man. I've never seen a riot in the 700 credit score neighborhood. Never seen a riot. But I would say this also, too, that when you don't put funding toward education, teachers are pretty much overworked, right? So a lot of things slip by because it was one teacher pretty much with a full class where I come from in South Central Los Angeles. So a lot of the things that happened to me as a child basically is because the teachers pretty much just had one class with a lot of people. So my disability didn't get handled or confronted properly.
Right.
Right.
So I want to know, like, where do you think the funding is going that could be going to these schools? Because I see us putting millions, billions, we have for years, towards wars and, anything else, and I'm for that. American people, hey, man, we need to be protected. I'm not against that. Let's do what we need to do. Let's scrape up the resources. Let's do what we need to do to get things done with whoever has a problem with us. But when it comes to the problem at home and, education and kids not getting the proper education, there's kids over in other countries, man, that are graduating early and doing things early because they're getting the right hands-on training.
You're absolutely right. I would tell you this here, man, that it takes the average person today in America makes about $13,000 a year, even if they're on welfare or whatever it may be, right? Wow. It takes about $70,000 to house one prisoner. So we got to look at how many times that 13 going to 70,000, right?
Right.
So I believe instead of building prisons and jails, because the prisons are on the stock market.
Right.
And a lot of us don't really know that. And then also prisons are pretty much dictating how many jails they're going to have according to third grade reading scores, right?
Right.
So sometimes it's like a big business, like a pipeline. It's like it's a lot of money in that system, but I don't believe it's going in the right places. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I've seen, and I have to agree with you about the prison prison systems and it becoming and being a big business, because I've been like, down south and places like that. Those jails are individually funded. They're owned. They're private jails. They're private facilities.
That's correct.
You know what I'm saying? So when you go into this jail, you have to think about it. There's a person that owns this jail. It's not really the state. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not the state or anything like that. They're just kind of housing you for them.
Exactly. And you just talked about, the monies, right?
Yeah.
When you go into elementary schools, they look like jails. You ever walk down the hallways and see all that metal?
Yeah.
So pretty much it's like a pipeline, right? I'm not talking against
fascinating,
education.
by the way. I didn't. You kind of dropped that one on me. That was good.
Yes,
I like that.
So it's like a pipeline. But the main thing is, I think the young kids today, man, are some of the best kids out there. They just need the right guidance, right? And that's what I'm all about, empowering people, and especially getting to young people, because I was one of those young kids in South Central Los Angeles that came up through all of that. And I'm like a walking miracle. I'm not even supposed to be here.
Yeah. Do you feel that by them not putting those type of programs in schools, in public schools, because I'm sure private schools have them, financial,
Right.
You know what I'm saying, mixture. Do you feel like that's a way from keeping people from financial literacy?
Well, I can talk on it because right now, I just turned 58. I feel like I'm 20, but I would say this here.
Good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
When I was in school, we had metal shop.
Mm-hmm.
We had home economics. We had a lot of programs within school, right? So that helped a lot of people. But once the programs came out of the schools, then that's when all the crime started to come in, crack and all of that stuff. You took the programs out, crime comes in. So that's what we see inside of inner cities, man. We see that it's a lack, not only of financial literacy, it's a lack of resources. And then what happens, man? You got the gangs, you got all these different things happening. And they did a statistic, a test. They had two mice that was sitting inside of a cage. They put a big chunk of cheese in the middle of the cage, right? The mice was just chilling, just in harmony, right?
Yeah.
So then they cut the cheese in half. Then the mice got a little more aggressive, right?
Right.
And then they cut it down a little lower. Then the mice start fighting one another. And then eventually, one of the mice killed the other mice.
Wow.
So a lot of things are pretty much already, it's a system, right?
Right.
And that's the reason why, I'm happy to be able to talk to you today, and I'm happy you asking these
I'm happy
questions
that you're
because
here.
we got to really speak and help the youth that's coming up,
Right.
give them the right information, empower them. So that's my whole thing, man, to be able to say some things for people who are listening right now, they'll be able to change their lives. That's what it's all about.
Do you feel like they're targeting certain neighborhoods and schools? Do you feel like they're targeting them to kind of keep them away? Take all the shit out of there. They don't really need that much here. We'll put it over here to the private schools, and we'll take all that. They need it more. They need it more than the public schools. Those kids are okay. We don't need to give them too many programs. They want to fight amongst each other anyway. Get the fuck in there as adults. When do we become adults and really get our children back?
Well, you said something that makes a lot of sense. The bottom line is that when you have especially in the African American community, right? The average household is ran by a single woman, right? But that goes way back. It goes way back. It was a time where, in order for a person to have welfare, the man couldn't be in the house. But prior to like the Vietnam War and everything like that, black men were pretty much taking care of their homes, right? Went off the war, came back, right? Recession took place, right? And then in order for the woman to receive a check, the man couldn't be in the house. So they said they gave them welfare. I call it farewell. You say it backwards, right? Welfare. So we have generations and generations of welfare recipients, the same stuff perpetuating. So it's really a big business. And it's really not so much targeting, it's profiting.
Well, back to like you even said with the prisons, and that's why I said even with the privately owned facilities, it's a big business. It's a cash cow, man.
Yes.
They're getting paid. The government is paying these people who have these facilities, who have invested their money into these cells, into the food, into things like that. I think it was Bob Barker. Bob Barker, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Bob
Price
Barker,
is Right.
Yeah. Okay, his son went to jail one time. and he didn't like the way that they were treating his son in there because his son had to go do, I don't really know the details to it, but I know that his son had to go do a little bit of time or something like that. And he didn't like the way that they were treating his son. So what he did was, and I kind of commend him for this, I like this. What he did was he went and made his own product of shoes for the jails, soaps, shampoos, all these different things with his name on it. You know what I'm saying? And I really feel like he did it and it started just with his son, and just seeing how fucked up the systems are, So to get back to even financial movements, do you see how many roadblocks we talked about before we could actually talk about getting to some money? Think about it. How many roadblocks we just had to talk about, and there's many, many more that we had to talk about before we can even talk about somebody getting $1.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's why knowledge is key. Knowledge is key. And I always tell people, in the word community is the word unity. So you got to have unity if you want to have a solid community. So right now, I think that people are waking up. Even I have people from my old neighborhood who text me on the cell phone. You in jail? You can text now? They got iPads. They got all this stuff. So things are changing, man. I just think that we have to push that change. Does that make sense?
That makes
because the system is actually coming down as we speak. It's coming down because of people like you. You are strong enough to be on this platform to talk about that. You could be talking about a lot of other things, but you're talking about that. That shows that you really care, and that's what I'm all about, man. It's all about really empowering people, no matter who it is, whether it's Hispanic, Black, or Latino, Caucasian. It really doesn't matter, man. The bottom line is we got to push positivity.
Right.
Yeah.
We do. Positivity is everything. I gotta ask you this. You being, in the financial game and just understanding the mixtures of it all, where do you see, because you seem like a man that secretly got a crystal ball somewhere. So where do you see cryptocurrency in the next 10 years?
Cryptocurrency is actually here. It's the future. It's funny because a lot of people, they're a little insecure about cryptocurrency, right? But we pretty much are conditioned to the dollar bill per se because it's something physical that you can actually touch, right? But when you really think about it, the dollar bill originally was backed by gold. So $1 US dollar gold, $1 US dollar is $1 in gold, right? Now the gold is gone. Then we had something called a silver certificate. That's when I was a kid. $1 US dollar, one silver certificate. Now the silver is gone. So the gold is gone, the silver is gone. Now the dollar bill says note, like house note, car note. It's borrowed. It has no value. So if a depression took place tomorrow, the dollars will be out there with no value. So the government is constantly printing up money as we speak, and it's creating a lot of inflation. That's why inflation right now is about 6.2% in America, and the banks on average give us a negative 1%. But the bottom line is that the cryptocurrency is here to stay. But a lot of guys, you see them on the internet and put money to their ear, right? I think, better be careful that you don't get an ear infection. But the bottom line is that the cryptocurrency has value. The dollar bill has no value. So I'm for cryptocurrency. I'm pretty much heavily vested in that also, too.
I think that we have forgotten as people that we are the value. We are the value. It's not paper.
It's not.
It's not something they could take. They have to understand something with banks. With banks, I don't care how much money, people, you go put in there today, tomorrow. You know that money is gone as soon as you put it in there. They pretty much give you an IOU. You just see it on the screen because seeing is believing. So if they can show you that your money's in this account, try to go draw it out, all of it today. I guarantee you it's going to be just a little bit of it. It's a little bit of things they got to go through. You might need to come back in 24 hours. I mean, we can give you a little bit of this right now, but we just can't give it all to you because it's a pyramid scheme, see?
Well, I tell you what, man, it's your show.
Yeah.
So I got to really drop some heat, okay? Because it's your show.
Come on.
See, you have to really think about this.
Talk to me.
The banks in America, on average, give us negative 1%.
Right.
Negative 1%. I just told you inflation is 6.2%. So we have to get at least 7% or greater just to even beat inflation right now, right?
Right.
So we go to the bank, we put our monies in the bank.
Right.
The bank give us negative 1% on average.
Right.
The bank takes our money, they don't save it. They put it into the market, and they get all of the compounding interest.
Right.
And by the way, the banks don't give us compounding interest. They give us simple interest, right? So I always tell people, would you rather put monies in the bank and get negative 1%, or would you rather put your money where the bank put their money?
Right.
So we're gonna let it out. Okay. When you go to the bank and you put monies in the banks, by law in America, it's called fractional banking. They have to keep at least 10% of our deposit. So let's say if I deposit $1,000 in the bank, the bank is going to keep 100, but invest the 9. What they invest the 9 in? Home loans, student loans, car loans, S&P 500, all of that, right?
So you're paying for people's loans pretty much
Yes.
when you go and you put your money in the bank.
Yeah, and then also the banks are heavily vested in life insurance. This is going to trip you out. It's called BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. Bank-owned life insurance. Last year during the pandemic, the banks in America purchased over $190 billion in life insurance. That's why the young people get some life insurance, because we have the wrong interpretation of life insurance. See, when you hear the word hear the word insurance, Sharp, you hear that's the operative word, but it has to be attached to something. So if I say insurance what? Automobile insurance, car. Homeowners insurance, a home. When we say life insurance, it's for your life. It's not called death insurance.
Can I ask something?
Go
Because
ahead.
I'm so curious here. Why is it that they only start pushing the issue for life insurance when you start to get older? Why don't they ever try to show us that, like in your 20s, like, hey, man, go get you some life insurance. Start putting into that policy now. Start getting your stuff going. I noticed they only start pushing that narrative once you're kind of older and you're about 45, maybe 50, at a time to where they feel like your ass is going to get ready to get sent off to the upper room. That shit is scary to me.
Yeah, well, see, that's the main thing. That's the reason why we have to empower the young people. And that's why I'm glad I'm talking about it now. I'm telling young people to make sure that they get some life insurance, because life insurance is to transfer wealth. That's what it really means. It's to transfer wealth. You have to really think about it. When I opened up, I said the average American before the pandemic was 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless. 1 out of 3 Americans in debt. The average American family cannot even handle a $400 emergency. The average college student gets out of college with about $25,000 debt. If they're pursuing to be a professional, they can be $100,000 to $200,000 debt. The average college student in America is still in student loan debt in their late 40s, right? So if that's the case, what is this generation going to transfer to the next generation? Debt. That's why we have to transfer wealth and not debt. And understand that life insurance means transferring wealth, and final expense is to bury someone. So we need final expense to bury someone, which means we shouldn't be seeing in our communities GoFundMes, cook sales, bake sales. We just recently seen celebrities couldn't even bury themselves. Final expense is so inexpensive, and the insurance companies don't talk about final expense. Adults can get covered for as little as 50 cents a day, kids 12 cents a month. So we shouldn't be having any of that. All of it boils down to a lack of education, not a lack of money.
Yeah. See, that's oh man, that's deep right there. See, I like that. And it's just even thinking about like how it's all a pyramid scheme, man. It is. It's all to get a couple of people. They can't have everybody having the knowledge. See, that's not how it works. You got to have majority and minority.
Hey, you touching on that? I'll say this to you, man. I'll say this to you. When you think in terms of product, right?
Right.
When you think in terms of product, people want to get the best price for their product, right? And people pay for that. Does that make sense? But here's something that's really, really important. That in America, poverty starts at a family of 4 making $30,000 a year.
Right.
Poverty begins with a single American, male or female, making $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
So think about this. Wealth. In order to get into the wealth column, you got to make above $150,000 a year.
Back to when you said something about, a kid going to college, right? And they end up getting out of school with at least $25,000, $30,000 worth of debt, correct?
Right.
They go to school for whether it's marketing, finance, business, whatever, to end up getting out and working a deadbeat job anyway. Makes no sense to me. To go spend 4 or 5 years in something, if you don't love it, don't do it. I hate when people try to jump on the bandwagon to something because they hear, okay, they can make some money into it. It's not what you love.
Yeah.
It's not what you want to do. So that's why you end up getting out working a deadbeat job anyway, because the government wants their money back now. Yeah. They don't give a fuck how you do it, where you do it. We made sure you got the education that you wanted. Pay us.
Right. But I tell you, young kids today, man, they got a lot coming at them with technology, social media, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
And most people spend more time outside of themselves, but very little time with themselves.
Right.
So I'm encouraging young people to spend more time with themselves, because job to me just stands for just over broke. right?
Well, people don't care about what they think about themselves. They care about what other people think of
Right.
them. They don't care about what they think of themselves, so they don't care to spend time with themselves.
Because there's a lot of things that take them outside of themselves.
Right.
And then most young kids who go to college, they pretty much are going to college going according to what their parents are telling them, right? So I encourage young people, man, to do the things that really that they have in their hearts. That's by spending some time with themselves, because your job is what you get paid for, but your calling is what you were made for. What I mean by your calling, the thing that you was called to do, the gift that's inside of you.
You can feel it.
Yeah. So give young people the opportunity to live their calling versus just a job. And there's nothing wrong with having a job.
No,
but
not
the
at all.
bottom line is that, job is not going to really get a person to the next level. Not at all. No. But when I was telling you about wealth starts at $150,000 a year, you have to really think about that, because it's only about 5% of Americans that hit the wealth column. So a lot of people are falling behind because of a lack of knowledge.
What do you think our percentage in that as Black African Americans? Where do you think our percentage falls in that percentage?
Well, I'll tell you, this is really crazy, man, because last year in America, African American made enough money in one physical year to buy ABC, NBC, and CBS in one physical year. Now, in other communities, I'm not going to say certain names, but in other communities, the dollar bill turns about 9 times. In some communities, the dollar bill turns about 8 times.
I know exactly what.
Yeah.
And if they're fast, they can catch it. That was a fast move you made.
Exactly.
And I know what you're talking about.
And in the African American community, the dollar bill doesn't turn not one time, yet we make that much money. That's why I said that we have to have a collective effort. It's education. That's why I'm pushing financial education. So therefore we can stop that vicious cycle of transferring debt and being ill-informed.
Why aren't we all? I don't give a fuck what background. I don't care what background, where you come from, doesn't matter. Why isn't it that we don't get a financial, like just that loan? Like, I've noticed people, not gonna say who, but they'll come over from other places and they already have a check waiting on them to go do whatever they want to do, whether it's to go start a small business, smoke shop, or a bodega, or, supermarket, or a gas station. They come over, they already have these grants waiting on them. I believe that all the American people, you're at least due to one grant that you don't have to pay back. Go do what you want to do in life. Do not say that we never gave you a fair shake at it. We don't care if you went and burnt the money. Just one fair shake at that.
Yeah.
I really believe in that, man, because you know what? You'd have a lot less people running their mouth talking about they ain't never got nothing.
Well, if you go back historically, you would see that most of the banks are pretty much, it's pretty much slave labor, cotton field, slave labor, all of that. But like I said,
where do you think Sunday best came from? The meaning of Sunday's best, what that meant was all the house niggas used to go to church with the owners.
Black Friday.
And they would all have, it was the one they kept in the house.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So they would bring them, and everybody would flaunt off the piece of jewelry the master bought him. Or, well, you ain't get this new suit from him. Or, well, you ain't get these slides from him. Your master ain't get you these. Why do you think we boast on each other today as black folks? That's all we do. It's, well, you ain't got this. Oh, well, look at this. You ain't got this. You can't be on.
Man, you open up a can right now. That's funny that you just said that, man, because
Sunday's best.
We had that. We had the house Negro, we had the field Negro, we had all of those different types of things, and we still are fighting with that to this very, very day. But I always tell people, we say united we stand, divided we fall, but the same people that said that divided us. So it's important that we unite, and the way we unite
was game.
Yeah, the way we unite is the way we're talking now, so young people can hear this, right? So they can learn from this. That's what it's all about. All kids, not just black kids, but all kids, learn from this. Because I truly believe the world could be a better place, man, once we start educating one another, once we start duplicating, creating. Because right now in America, virtually nothing is really being made here. You get my point?
Yeah.
So we got to really get back to the basics, man, and start spreading knowledge.
We forgot about the Malcolm X's. We forgot about the Martin Luther Kings. We forgot about the what's that? Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela. We forgot about these people. This is not I noticed today what we do is, and just a lot of people, it's just everybody. Like, what we do is we go run out We go, if we have a problem with what the government's doing to us, or we have a problem with them not trying to give us the literacy that we need to move about in life, I notice that we go and we riot through shit. We steal shit. We want to go and take shit. We feel like it belongs. But I noticed back in the day, because I do a lot of research on that, just what Malcolm X was one of my favorites. I looked up to him, man, by any means necessary. I've carried that throughout my entire life. And these people honestly would be rolling in their grave to see what people do today. Back in the day, man, when people weren't listening, guess what we did, man? We sat in. We made our voices strong. We made them hear us. And it didn't come with stealing and looting. It didn't, man, to get your point across. I feel like people use that as an excuse to steal.
Yeah, it's a lot of frustration out there, man.
Yeah,
it's a lot of frustration out there. But if we really went back, man, speaking of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the main message was to do for self. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with doing for self, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that we got to get back to the basics and start doing for self.
Right.
Because either we do for self or suffer the consequences. Right. The consequences is what we're seeing right now. The consequences of not eating correctly.
I want people to understand
exactly.
That doesn't mean be selfish. He's just saying do for self.
And it's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, just do for self. That doesn't mean that you're selfish.
Right.
Just do for self.
Just do for self. Yeah. That's what it's all about. Just doing for self and empowering self. And that's what it's all about, man, because right now we see all of the stuff that's happening in America, man, a lot of division, hate, all of that stuff. I strongly believe, man, it's all about empowerment, educating one another, working with one another, and we can take it to the next level. That's what it's all about. You got to be positive. 90% of winning is simple excitement. You got to get excited. People today are so frustrated, so angry. You got to get excited.
You
that's
can't
what it's all
wake
about.
up angry.
No, you can't. But it's hard to say that when you come in, when you're in a certain environment where you dodging bullets all day. It's really hard to say that, right?
Well, I say this: you can't say that when that's what you grew up in.
Exactly.
So anything outside of that is great. It should pull you towards it.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be no problem because you were used to that already.
Exactly.
There's no hurt from that.
Yeah, and then the thing that bothers me now is that even like the new guy, the rapper, Young Dolph, I believe.
Yeah.
Going to his community and trying to bring things up, and he got killed there. Same with Nipsey here in California, going into the community trying to help.
He got killed, Mr. Rory. He got killed going in and getting some butter cookies.
Yeah.
That they sold in his neighborhood since he was a kid. They were butter cookies, man.
Right.
He was just going to go get some butter cookies. Known the owner since he was a young buck.
Right. And then the same with Nipsey in front of his store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was jealous.
It's funny, man. Yeah.
Jealousy.
And I grew up in that type of environment, man. Coming up in South Central Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You know, I do a lot of things, but I send things and I help people, right? But you got to be very careful when you're in those environments, man. You got to go in there and have security.
Well, I think that was a place that you knew you did not want to be anymore. I'm sure you done sat out there even some nights, like you just go driving by. Not I'm saying that you're stopping, but you'll drive by a nice suit. I see your nice Mercedes-Benz and things like that outside, so you might want to go take a drive and you ride through the streets. And I'm sure that when you look around, you say to yourself, this is not a place I want to ever be again.
It's funny, man. I came up in that environment. I made it out of that environment. And what I do is, man, I like to stretch the young people's vision, right? So I bring a lot of young people up to my house. I have a very nice house. Show them how I live. Bring them to my office. Just
motivate
stretching vision, man.
You motivate
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, because seeing is believing. If you can show it, motherfuckers gonna believe in that, And I like how, because that's what I try to do, man. I try to mentally, I help homeless people. I help all types of people because I try to, if I can pull people over the bridge with me, as many as can grab onto my arms, my fingertips to my nails, I'm gonna drag as much as I can, as many people as I can through to success, and try to come back and grab a few more.
Yes.
Because that's what we're supposed to do, but we don't do that. Everybody wants to step on your shoulders to get there, and then once you say, well, here, help me, here goes my arms. Fuck you, I'm already over the wall.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know if you ever heard of this. It's a saying to talk about crabs in the bucket. You ever heard of that? Crabs in the bucket?
I've mentioned it a couple times in some interviews I've talked about.
This is something that's really important.
Yeah.
Crabs in the bucket, it's a myth, but here's the thing. The reality is crabs never get out the bucket.
Yeah, they never do.
So one is being pulled out of the bucket, and that one that got put out of the bucket don't want to get back into the bucket. Does that make sense?
I've said about it I said it in my very first interview that I ever did on Soft White Underbelly.
Right.
Okay, this was over a year ago that I said this. documented. I said, we're all like a bunch of crabs in a bucket just trying to get out.
Right.
Keyword, trying.
Trying
that
to get
means
out.
that you'll never, trying never does.
No. And see, I'll tell you this also too, man. All kids, all neighborhoods are hurting right now.
Yeah.
You know, you have more rehabilitation centers in rich areas than you have in the inner cities.
Yeah.
So it's the same situation but different problems. Does that make sense? So we got to really, really push consciousness, man, toward black kids, white kids, Hispanic kids, the whole 9 yards. Push, love, and help as many young people as possible, because I personally believe that this is the best group of young people. They just need to be steered in the right direction. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
So we got to start educating them.
Yes.
And that's why you have a platform to talk to people. When you get a chance, man, say some things to the young people, which I'm sure you do, to elevate them, to motivate them. Yeah. And if for all the young people listening to me right now, I really want you to know that you got greatness inside of you. Don't let anyone steal your dream. You know, you may not be where you want to be right now. You may not be in the certain situation that you want to be in. So don't look at your smartphone and see all of this luxury and all this lavish lifestyles and allow that to steal your value or your morals. You got to hold on to your belief.
A lot of that shit be a front. And if they can open their third eye to see that, their seventh, their eighth eye. They can open that to see that, hey, man, looks can be deceiving. I've heard of people, man, come around the corner, man, shit, he's in a Bentley, but it's really not even his. He's just fronting on you, making you feel like, damn, if he's got one, I can get one. And in the black culture, that's how we look at it. We're no better than each other. We look at it like, shit, if he can get one, I can get one. Because we've always frowned on each other.
Right.
It's never just been no, hey, Mr. Rory, I am proud of you for what you're doing.
Right. And
keep thriving.
Yeah, and I think that's going to change once we start spreading that education. Once we start empowering young people to pursue their purpose, that's going to change, man. Yeah.
I have to ask you this, man. Do you believe that crypto will be the only currency left, or do you think that gold will still play a major factor into what we do in the upcoming future?
Gold will always play a major factor, right? But right now, if you're trading gold, you're not really touching gold in most cases. You're just trading. It'll always be a factor because it's a commodity like oil, salt, grain. Does that make sense?
Right.
Land. It'll always be there. But cryptocurrency, man, is pretty much stepping up to technology. Because right now, you go into the bank, what do we see? Machines. We go into the airport, we see machines. We go into the store, we see machines. In the next 5 years in America, 85 million jobs are going to be displaced due to artificial intelligence. A robot is about to take your job.
They have done that in McDonald's. You order yourself now when you'll walk up in there. And I saw this 3 years ago. When you walk in there, they don't even have a person take the order. They just have a person give you the order now.
Right.
They don't even, you go up there, you order it on the menu, you put your card in, you pay for it. Walmart has changed.
Right.
Cashless, you know what I'm saying? Hey, no cashiers.
Right.
Everything is by hand now. So if you got a big ass basket of shit, you're scanning it yourself.
No, and check this out. Think about it. It goes back to what me and you have been talking about here. Right?
Yeah.
We've left from customer service now to convenience. So it's a lack of communication, once again, right? So there's a scripture in the Bible that says, my people are lost due to the lack of knowledge, not the lack of money. So it's a lack of communication. That's why we can't allow technology to replace us thinking soberly. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
So technology is good, but you got to really know how to use technology to your benefit.
We used knowledge for greed. America, and I got to say that we use it. We're pretty damn good at it too. I ain't going to lie. We're pretty damn good at it. The entire USA. We're pretty good. We used it for, it's not good what we used it for, because I remember I don't remember because I'm not that old, but from the stories I've heard, I remember you can go to White Castle or you can go get a burger for 50 cents or 7 cents compared to, you're going to pay $8, but like the dollar, the value has changed. And it's not because the dollar changed. No, the people changed the dollar.
Yeah, exactly.
They changed the value of the dollar.
Exactly. Because you have to understand, man, you have two languages out there. You got the language for the average common American and the language for the rich and the wealthy, right?
Right.
So once you learn the language of the rich and the wealthy, you will have money for a lifetime, not a lunchtime. So it's just two languages. That's why financial literacy is so important, right? To teach financial literacy. So I'm pressing that because you'd be surprised how many people really don't understand financial education. Once you learn financial education, you'll learn the language of the rich and the wealthy. And we have to learn how to run our households. We have to learn how to run our businesses, just like America runs this country. It's a corporation.
Right.
So you should have a corporation. You should have a separate entity. You should be building multiple streams of income.
And I want the black man to understand, because that's who I care about. I care about the black man. So I want them to understand something, that trapping in the streets, we've done that. Okay, we've mastered that. We've been there, right? Let's get to trapping like some of these other folks, because they trapping like a motherfucker. I'm watching them in these corporate buildings. They have Fortune 500 businesses. We can have that if we really come together. They're not going to hear your voice by yourself, Mr. Rory. They're not going to hear Mr. Sharp's voice by himself. It takes us all to stand together as one and really speak as one. Not the person in the back that's always got to say, well, I'm going to just do what I want to do. No, let's do what we got to do.
Definitely. And you know what? It's happening as we speak.
Yeah.
Just the near fact that we having this conversation right now, the level of consciousness is out there. Totally. That's why we have to constantly push it. Does that make sense?
Makes
we have to
perfect sense.
constantly push it. And I believe that you got to be the change that you want to see. That's the reason why, everybody's pretty much is following one leader, right? But I think that what we have to do is learn individually, and then it becomes collectively. That's why I'm saying push the knowledge, push the wisdom. And that's what it's all about. And then it's going to all come together. It's happening as we speak.
I just hope that I watch the news, because I'm into this. I was watching the news this morning at 5 o'clock. I'm up doing notes. I'm up doing notes this morning. I'm up. I'm working. I'm watching content. And I watch CNN, and I've just watched what we've become. I thought that doing the news, right, and because you seem like a man watching the news as well. You got to you always want to keep
on
up
the
your
news
knowledge
all the time.
And I've noticed how. I'm not going to name names, but I've noticed like certain platforms who have influence, they're not doing an up and down structure of, okay, we're just here to push the race. No, they bash one person and they glorify the other. If you're going to tell the news, tell the news. Tell it from be unbiased. Don't be a person that's a fan of somebody. Because, see, I think that's what it's turned into today. People turn into fans of things, and even though it's wrong, they'll still have that narrative get pushed. Yes. That makes any sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
They'll have that narrative still get pushed because they were a fan low key of this person.
Right.
And you don't understand that you're about to put this person in power of a lot of things over your likes. Not over your second thought. Use your second thought. I was a man that's always been taught to use your second thought. Don't just make motion, and don't just use energy to create emotion.
Exactly. I'll tell you this, man. See, when I was saying to you that there's like two systems, right?
Yeah.
You see that America got bailed out, right, when Wall Street fell, right?
Yeah.
So we see a lot of stuff happening, man. That's the reason why we got to really, really push and empower. That's what it's all about, push and empower.
Yeah.
Take your platform, educate as many young people as possible.
Yeah.
I take what I do, I educate as many young people as possible. And as long as we push toward the good and start helping people, and especially young people, because today it's funny. I see today that young people walk their communities, and I don't even see the older people talking to the young people. That's a shame. So I think older people need to start talking to young people, because I think the older people today are scared of the young people.
I'll be honest with you. From some of the things that I've seen, I would be kind of afraid too. I see people beating up older people and spitting on them and throwing things at them. And I knew a guy, man, I seen him online, right? I seen him, he also he's just a funny guy, just like a comedian dude. Dude doesn't seem like he had it all there. I'm not even gonna mention his name, but I remember him getting online one day and crying. And he said somebody came to his house and knocked his grandmama out off the porch. She's 80 years old, man.
Wow.
She's 80 years old.
Wow.
And they came and knocked this woman, like beat her, like hit her hard. Lady had to go to the hospital.
Right.
She fell off the porch.
Exactly.
But they do it for laughing matters and for jokes. Sometimes, man, the internet isn't always used for greater good, my man, and it's ugly. People just want to clout chase. That's the payment to them. I like money. It's got to make sense to me for
Right.
what we're doing.
Definitely.
A lot of people don't have things to make sense of.
Yeah. I'll tell you this too, man. I don't want to let the adults off the hook because
course not.
it's just like a tree, man. If you don't like the fruit that a tree produce, you don't get mad at the tree. At the fruit, you got to get mad at the root, right? And I think that, even when we're talking about incarceration, jails, and single homes, all of these things are byproducts of all of that.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why the adults, we got to really, really come together now and start talking to the young people, start empowering the young people. We just got to push that change that we want to see.
You can give them knowledge, but if they don't want to learn, they don't want to learn.
There it is.
And I'm being honest with you about that. Like when it comes to I'll put it on the adults somewhat, but
Right.
when you push that narrative to them, and they some of these kids that do some of the shit that they do out in the streets, you didn't even grow up like that.
No, not at all.
Your family wasn't even like
Not at
you
all.
had real nice parents.
Man, if you didn't open up a door, you would get the hell knocked out.
You had real nice parents, and they were stern with you, and they
Right.
taught you. I think it turns into more of an embarrassment.
Right. But
It's
now,
more of an embarrassment.
But now, if you educate your kids, you can end up in jail. You know that, right?
Right.
So
yeah, you can't even look at your kid like you want to lay a fingertip
So now
on
it
him.
comes back to the system. So everything we've been talking about is a system, correct?
Correct.
So we need to change the system.
Yeah.
And the way you change the system, you have to become the change that you want to see as individuals.
Right. When you were coming up, were you always into and I don't know what you did. I don't know if you sold drugs. I don't know what you did. Who gives a fuck? But because that doesn't matter. What matters is when you were coming up, were you always into the numbers game of things? Were you always into the structure on how shit worked? Didn't even care how bad. If we're going to fucking do it, at least let's do it with some structure. We're going to have a pyramid of this shit. We're going to figure out where everything aligns itself.
It's funny, man. When I was coming up as a kid in South Central Los Angeles,
Yes, sir.
we did have things that we could do. For instance, I can go up to the store, right? And I can put groceries in an old woman's car. Now think about that. Today, the elderly are afraid of the youth, right? But
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I can go to the store and make extra money by putting groceries in an old person's car.
Yeah.
And they would love that, right?
Yeah.
But it's different, okay? But the bottom line is, me coming up in South Central Los Angeles,
Right.
I came up during a time, man, where it was the drug era, it was the crack era. I've been through all of that. The Crips, the gangs. I mean, I know all of the original Crips.
Yeah.
I've been through all of that. The streets. I went from the streets to corporate suites. I always tell people that I went
Right.
from the streets to corporate suites.
Right.
You see? So I've seen both sides,
Yeah.
right? That's the reason why I know that if I can make it out of there, other individuals, other young kids can make it out of there also too. But we got to pretty much reach back and pull and help young people today, right? I don't count them out, man, because I still believe that this generation of young people today are the greatest generation because they're creative, even a level of consciousness. You'd be surprised in the financial space. It's so many young people out there right now pushing financial literacy, real estate, the whole 9 yards. Their vision is much higher than
Right.
before when I was a kid.
Right.
When I was a kid, we wasn't even thinking on that
Well,
level.
I'm
We
going
was
to tell
taking
you
lemonade
this. Don't
stands.
take from yourself.
Yeah.
You have to understand something, Mr. Rory. It wasn't the same technology back in the day
wasn't. You
that
right.
there was to today.
Exactly.
These kids, why do you think they say basketball done grown soft? Back in the day, there was all types of fouls and
Barkley,
elbows.
there it is, yes.
You
They
didn't know
couldn't
there
play
was no
like
such
that.
thing as a foul.
No, it wasn't.
Today, you can't even look like you about to poke that man.
Right.
It's ejection immediately, foul, technical
Right.
foul. It's everything.
But why you think is that?
Because times, I think that we have grown softer
Well,
throughout times.
the Bible says that we'll be wiser, right, but yet weaker. I agree with that 100%. But today, man, it's funny because, like, even in the music industry, you only have so many music artists, right?
Right.
Because things are being corporate. It's a corporation, right?
Right.
So they want to protect their asset. Does that make sense?
Makes fair,
Yeah.
perfect sense.
And your greatest asset is your mindset.
Is your mindset. But I just look at it like, being, coming from the streets, man, I did all that. I wouldn't take that away from myself for the knowledge
Me
that
either.
I gained from that. Like, I don't want, like today, man, like you said, they got everything is help you. Everything is help you. It's easy, fast, go, get gone. You don't have to learn it. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to do shit. You don't have to do nothing for it today, man. All you got to do is just show up and hit a button.
That's it.
You don't have to do anything anymore, man. These kids don't even fucking trick or treat anymore. What are y'all doing? Going virtual trick or treating? You calling your friends? Tell your mom, get on the phone. Hey, man, trick or treat? Yeah, we're gonna send the candy over there tomorrow.
Right.
Like what goes on? We have gotten lazy, man. We need to get back to work. We need to get some structure, some balance going, because with laziness comes thinking about things that you shouldn't even be thinking about. If you were working and keeping on a positive level, half the bullshit that's going on in the world right now wouldn't even be going on.
Yeah. This is the society we live in. But I really feel like we got a lot of young people out there, man, that's open for that change.
Yeah.
And that will actually spread that.
Yeah.
And that's the next generation of leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, the young people today, man, I still say they're the best generation.
They're
They're fearless, right? The whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
They just need to be pointed in the right direction. That's what it's all about. So me personally, I would encourage them.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody's listening right now,
Yeah.
if you feel like you want to give up, don't give up.
No.
You got greatness in you. Don't be afraid to reach out. That's important also,
Well,
too.
you know, I want people to also know that you got to reach out to the right people. Don't reach out to somebody that's going to shun you. And I understand that you might not know who that is, but if you feel any type of negativity from them, no. Everything in your world that comes into your world is supposed to build.
Yes.
It's supposed to be a building block to you.
Exactly.
Puzzle piece that you were missing in your bag. Do not let it shun you and whoop you.
Exactly.
I like this right here, man. Rory Douglas, the power to get wealth. No money required. God never squeezes us. He only stretches us to widen our territory. Tell me something about this.
The power to get wealth.
Yeah.
And no money required. Because, like I said, the true meaning of wealth, man, is all needs met. That's the true meaning of wealth. So if you have what you need, got a roof over your head, right? You're wealthy. It's really about how you think. So the power to get wealth is about thinking wealthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not
you got to think rich to get rich.
Yes, exactly. But not look at material things. That's not wealth.
Well, that's what we glorify when every day a new temptation is created.
Yeah, but that's not wealth.
It's not, but
No.
there's new temptations that are created. You have to understand something. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna go back to when you said the household doesn't have $400 to, be able to take care of an emergency.
Right.
It's because there are so many different temptations. People do look at the materialistic things, the cars, the clothes. They want to keep up with the Joneses to where they could have genuinely had that money. If they just made it's all priority.
Right.
Man. It's all
Right.
about your priorities,
Right.
your do-nos and your don't-nos.
Exactly. That's the reason why I'm pushing true wealth.
Right.
See, true wealth, man, is knowing oneself and taking the gift that you have in oneself and using it to create generational wealth.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
But see, today, like I said, we have so many people that are imitating and very little creators. Most people are duplicating, imitating, very little creators, right? So I want to empower people to really create. You may not have the stuff that you want right now, but you do have ideas that's inside of you that can create generational wealth. So don't, especially young women, don't lose your values or your morals because of stuff, right? Get with that young guy that's out there that's studying, that's really, really trying to do something and build something. Get with that guy. The guy may not have a car. You still can get with that guy. But you may see a guy in a Bentley or Rolls Royce, but you don't know exactly how he's living. You get my point? And not against none of that.
She don't want to get with the man in the Honda because somebody might be recording that. She don't want to be seen doing that. And he could have been the realest guy in the world. She could have really went off.
Right.
Or even if it could have been a woman, he could have, with a man with a woman, he could have really went off and they could have really started something beautiful. I've never always wanted to deal with somebody with all of the puzzle pieces, all the blocks. No, I want to be able to come in and put some too, because see, you're going to look at me funny in the end like, well, where's your blocks?
Right.
Well, there was never no room because all of yours is right there.
Right. And even with the young people, I always tell them, like, especially the young guys, I talk to young guys, I tell them, hey, before you get into a relationship, man, start working on yourself. get your ducks in order, get your career, your trade. You get my point? I see people today, they live together and the woman is paying half of the rent. That's not your man, that's a roommate.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say this, man. For somebody that's like that, if that's how you live in your life, you got to just be in position that. I like to call myself if I ever deal with a woman per se, I'll use myself as an example. When I talk to a woman, and I want to pursue that woman, I always let her know that, and throughout the mix of all my seriousness and my passion, I am in position to have you. I'm in position.
There it is.
I'm in position to have you. I'm not just here just talking to be talking. I'm really in position to have you. It's a difference. Ask your last 3 men if they was in position to really have you. No, they was just coming by just to see you.
There it is.
Bring a small bottle of liquor that you didn't even like. He's really just drinking it for himself.
You're right.
Hoped you had a bag of weed, and if you don't, he's only going to be here briefly. He's going to leave and go to the next chick house, or you got to deal with somebody who's in position to have you mentally.
And take you to the next level.
And just physically, and just take you to the next level, man.
Right.
Because when you're dealing with somebody like that, you're going to want to get your shit together.
Right.
If you're with a man of that structure.
Right. And I got 2 daughters. My daughter's sitting over there right now.
I met one, yes.
I tell my daughter, get your stuff together. I don't curse. I say, get your shift together.
Yeah.
Shift. Shift the way you think.
Yeah.
You don't want to. You don't
like
listen.
that.
You don't want to depend on no man, right?
Yeah.
And that's why that's what it's all about. So
yeah.
I teach my daughters the same thing because I'm a father, right?
Right.
Me too. I was the first guy to give my daughter roses.
Right.
I was the first guy to put my daughter in a limousine. You get my point?
Right.
And we got a lot of young women out there today because they inbox me. They don't have fathers. You get my point?
Right.
So I want to be the father for as many young people as possible, just to encourage young women, right?
Right.
Because today, man, it's a sad situation when I see the relationship with this generation, male and female, no matter what color they are.
Most definitely.
We reduce our women to bees and all this other kind of stuff that we say, and we got songs talking about the same thing. And how are we going to really, really create some unity if we don't take some of that back?
I like that you brought that up just about, women in general. And, my outlook to it is this. We always, and I want women to understand something. I really want to give this game up, and I hate giving up because I just hope y'all don't get big headed. But we always, I'm for real. But I'm talking about back in the day, and as far as I can see, we always put y'all on a pedestal. There was things that y'all wouldn't do that we would, that we didn't always get looked at. We was always dogs, don't matter, but they never were. They were always ladies. I used to see a woman when she was upset with her man, she might call her girlfriend. She might have a tub of ice cream. She might watch a movie. Now these days she get mad at her man. Guess what she do? She call her friend and she ready to go hit the club and go meet somebody new. Women don't really, you've become no better. You know what I'm saying? Like it used to be a higher pedestal. Like, yeah, they didn't cheat. No, they were loyal. It was a loyalty to it. Yeah, even though you're fucked up, guess what? I'm not. I respected that shit.
But I'll tell you this.
I respected that for a long time until I just start seeing women wanting to be the man in the situation. I'm like, damn, if that's how I'm acting, I don't want to be that ugly. You understand what I'm saying? If that's how I'm acting, because I see women want to be the men. So I'm like, damn, this is a change in events.
But once again,
I'm looking at it like, well, if this is how I'm acting, this is very ugly. And I want to change the narrative to how I approach different situations. That's why I've always said, man, I've never looked for a woman. I've always looked for the woman.
Right. But I'll tell you this is funny. We were just talking about earlier, we was talking about systems, right? All of that, right?
Yeah.
But I tell you this, it's funny because the other day I was going in the store and a young lady was walking. I opened up the door for her, right?
Yeah.
Guess what she said? She said, "Thank you, sir." I don't believe, this is my personal opinion. I don't think there's no such thing as a no good woman. If you find a no good woman, a no good man made her that way.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely.
The bottom line
Most definitely.
The bottom line is that when the men start becoming men, treating the women better, I think the women will change. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Not defending the women. I'm not. This is not that.
No.
The bottom line is that I didn't always think that way, but I have daughters, right?
Right.
So I know for a fact I know for a fact my daughter over here, she could tell you.
Yeah.
She's never seen her daddy do anything disrespectful in front of her.
Right.
She's never seen her daddy do nothing disrespectful in front of her. So
Right.
I want to be that example for her, right?
Right.
And I think that once men become examples, I think the women will change.
And she will treat her man as he needs to be treated, because guess what? She's going to look for the traits of who her dad is. Okay, them the type of traits I'm supposed to be looking for, but it's these days, man. You know, you used to look at marriages. People would get married, right? And they would be together for the rest of their lives. I don't care if they got married at 16 years old. I don't care. And they'd be on for the rest of their life, man. You can't even get a person to be married for 2 minutes anymore these days, man. People having 3, 4 different marriages. We living in a different day and age, Mr. Rory.
Yeah.
So that love and that, you know, even a dad wanting to be there, just say, for instance, I don't know if your daughter, if you grew up in the house with your dad, was you there with him every day? Big difference, Mr. Rory.
Yeah.
It's about and not taken from her, but it's about the girls that didn't get to grow up with their dads, man. How much was that were they an influence on her life?
Got you. Totally.
And see, because I'm a man that I have daughters, beautiful ones, you know, and I got a beautiful blonde, blue-eyed baby, you know, and like I try to make sure that, okay, yeah, even though me and her mama, you know, we were not together, I always try to make sure I keep on her ass.
Right.
And do it twice as much, because I know that I can't be there, you know, always to be able to catch every moment. You know, it's hard to do, but it's doable. You know, when you don't live in the household, or, you know, you're not always there, you know, it definitely is a struggle. That's why I say, hey, man, I commend her. She was blessed enough to be able to grow up with her father in the house. That should show America and show us how meaningful that is, to see a man just with child and them being in the same house every day.
And I'll tell you this also too, man, especially for young people that's listening, especially young women. Keep in mind, you have a dating phase,
Yeah.
a courting phase,
Yeah.
and then a relationship.
Well, that's all got past,
I
Mr.
know,
Roy,
I
because
know.
these girls grow up, soon as they get ready, as soon as they feel it going, they're ready to fuck. So it's like it goes straight past the courting phase. It
Right.
goes straight past these girls. They see it on, hey, they ready to go twerk. They ready to be at somebody's party. They are fiending for attention because they did not get the attention from their fathers.
Well, what do you think we could do to stop it? Like, what you feel we could do to stop it?
All we can, honestly, all we can do is what you had said earlier, man. All we can do is just try to really, in the young people, just try to keep staying on it, stand firm. Because I said,
you know what you should do?
Talk to me.
You should get a bunch of young girls to come together, right? And then you take, you know, guys.
I don't need that, Mr. Roy. I don't want to be around a whole bunch of. I don't even want that look on me.
I'm saying, no.
I just rather
sharp.
teach
Check
the
it
people.
out. I'm saying sharp. Let's say they don't necessarily have to come here specifically, but
Right.
get the young girls together, right?
Right.
And then the guys start giving them like some real game in terms of what they should allow, what they shouldn't
do all
allow
the time.
to
I do
build
all
it
the
up.
time.
But I'm talking
I do all
about
the time.
like a system. In other words, get them together and push that. Does
Yeah,
that make
no,
sense?
And it does, because I try to do that all the time, because I feel like this, man, before you can bring anybody together, and this is back in the very beginning of our conversation, you have to be able to know thyself. You have to know what you want to do, who you want to be, before you try to intertwine with anybody. I'll say this, Mr. Rory, I can never help you if I cannot help myself.
That's true.
You're not even going to believe in me. I can't even come to you with a $50,000 idea and you're not even ready to throw $50 at it.
Right.
Because you don't believe. You see, I'm not believing in myself.
Right. But Sharp, that's the reason why I'm saying that we need people like ourselves to push that. I'll give you an example. Muhammad Ali was being interviewed a long time ago.
Right.
And one of the interviewers said, well, you got that Bentley, you got that this, you got that. Why do you have all of that? You know what he said? He said, my people wouldn't listen to me if I didn't have these things. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
See, I have things, but they're just things.
Right.
But I use those things to convey a positive message to young people.
So you say you don't look at the materialistic things
not
that
at
you've gained
all.
as power.
No,
as power.
There's no power.
Yeah,
That's
power's here.
That's
for
why
you.
the book is called The Power to Get Wealth, No Money Required. You get my point?
Right.
It's really about, like I said, people in the gym getting their bodies right. They're trying to eat right, but you got to get your mind right.
You got to get your mind
fitness.
right. I've heard people say that too, man. They talk about, well, my muscles this, and well, I'm
Get
this
your
tall,
mind
that,
right.
I'm this. Yeah, where does your mind stand in
Get your
all
mind
of
right.
this? You
Because
know,
you got to really think about it. Marriage is breaking over finance.
Yeah.
Young men going to prison over money.
Right.
When I was in Africa,
Yeah.
inside of the prisons, those young people are in there because they were fighting against a cause, injustice, or whatever it may be.
Tell me what that was like.
You come here and you go into the prisons, they in there because they're trying to get things to impress women.
Tell me what that was like going into Africa. You say you was in Africa,
Yeah,
right?
I went to Africa and went inside of the jails.
Tell me what that was like.
It was really like how can I say, a conscious center.
Yeah.
Where they were in there preparing themselves to make a change when they get out to create a movement to stop the oppression.
So it was a serious, they were really trying to rehabilitate
Right.
him there.
But here,
Yeah.
you know, young people are in jail, right? And you ask them, why are you in jail? Because they was trying to get things. And it's really not about the things.
Yeah.
It's not about the things, man.
I see you did, let me see this one right here. It says it's a #1 Amazon International bestseller that you were a co-author on. It's called Cracking the Rich Code.
Yep, with Tony Robbins, the #1 financial man in America, motivational
I
speaker.
think I saw him on Shark Tank, if I'm not mistaken. No
And-
comparison, no relations.
Yeah, Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington and Jim Britt is currently is now the bestseller. And I'm coming from South Central LA on this book. Like I said, I went from the streets to corporate suites.
Tell me what
Those
you
are
were
my
talking-
friends.
Tell me a little bit before we get it. Tell me what you were talking about in this.
Cracking the Rich Code, the things that we're talking about right now, there's a language for the rich and the wealthy, right?
Yeah.
Once you learn the language of the rich, then you'll have money for a lifetime and not lunchtime. So I want young people to learn Finance 101. Finance 101. Start learning about finance, right? That's what it's all about. Start learning finance. And that's what it's about, pushing financial education.
Right.
That's
I
what
love
that book is talking about, Cracking the Rich Code.
Is there anything the people need to know about in financial literacy? Like, if you didn't know anything else, this is what you should at least know today to get yourself started. Give somebody if you were walking past somebody right now and you know you had 5 minutes to change their life, what would you tell them? You had not even 5 minutes. You had 2 minutes to tell them.
4 steps. First thing you want to do is you want to have a solid foundation.
Right.
Get some life insurance. Second thing, go from that to debt management. 2 types of debt. Good debt and bad debt.
Right.
Good debt if I'm paying for my education. Bad debt, credit cards, bills. Go from debt management to emergency fund. There's something that's called the 10-20 rule. We should have at least 6 to 10 months of our monthly expenses saved up just for emergencies.
Right.
And the 20 represents 20 times our annual salaries to retire. And then you go from that to debt management to investments.
Sure.
But today they do it polar opposite. They want to invest first, but they don't have a solid foundation. Because a lot of people out there saying, get involved with crypto, get involved with this information, get involved with this. So now we're in real estate, we're in cryptocurrency with no education. We're just making money. So you really got to start making money. That's what it's all about, you see?
Yeah.
And for the guys, upgrade your woman before you upgrade your weed.
Well, me, I'm into upgrading both, but that's another story.
I'm with you. That's it, yeah.
I say, I appreciate you, man, for coming down.
I appreciate you, man.
Spending this time with me, you know, and just being able to just move forward and make progress because, you know, I promise you, I will take even a half a step forward versus having to take a half a step back. I just want to move in life, and I just love to see the black folks, and I like to just anybody who is come from fucked up situations, man, and trying to come and see the light. I encourage them. I wish them well. I wish them well in all their endeavors, and I'm gonna do more interviews like this, and I hope, Mr. Rory, I can get you back in the future.
Man.
And we can just, you know, hey, man, I'm going to go learn
Anytime.
some cool shit along the way.
Anytime.
You're going to go
Yes.
learn some cool shit along the way. Maybe we could come back together, man, and voila.
Yeah, but let me give you some.
Talk to me.
Let me give you some roses also too, man.
Talk to me, man.
I looked at some of your videos, man.
Yeah.
And I really love the fact, man, that you have a strong presence, right?
Yeah.
Which means you speak strong.
Thank you.
And a lot of young people are listening,
Thank
and they really need that.
Right.
And then also too, man, this book is a financial literacy book, Finance 101. I want to give 50 of them to the listeners, 50 free books.
Save
so
your
whoever
future.
you choose, I want to give 50 free books to them. This is Finance 101. This is how they get started. Basic financial principles.
I will definitely make sure
50
that
books. You got my word on
I
that.
will
I'll
make
send them to
sure,
you.
and I will make sure you send them to me. I will make sure that I get out 50 books.
Right.
I will make, man, I'm talking about, I will go and drop them individually, man, to the mailbox. Hey, man, individually with people name every fit, man, all 50
Exactly.
of the motherfuckers, man, because these need to get out here, man. The basic principles of building a financial foundation. We all need this, man. This ain't a joke. This is serious. Because I'm tired of watching people hurt. And
Wow.
I do understand that they really, everybody, well, you got to go to school. You got to go to school. Well, there's people out here giving knowledge. Sometimes all you have to do is just open your ears, man, and just listen. And all the answers are going to be there for you.
Right.
Mr. Rory, I appreciate you for coming.
Man,
up
I
in
appreciate
here,
you, man.
You
I appreciate
and
you.
we are definitely going to do this again. You hear me? Sharp Tank, no jumper. Sharpest, coolest podcast in the world. And we out of here,
And
baby.
he's sharper than a knife, not a butter knife.
Church.